everyone. Olivia Reiner here yet again from the visitors' locker room. Once again, and it's a little bit chilly outside, so we've elected to go inside as to not watch our extremities freeze off. That would not be so much fun for you guys or for us, really. But I am here with Tom Silverstein. Tom, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
Yo, gosh, that's a hazard right there.
I've been called a witch before, sort of, but yeah, happy Halloween. I wish I had some candy on me right now.
What's your favorite Halloween candy spoon?
I'll have to defer to my mom's favorite, which was Kit Kats.
Ooh.
She was a Kit Kat fiend, and I'm pretty close behind
Kit Kats
on that.
are pretty good. I'd say Kit Kats are pretty underrated.
Yes, they are. Yes,
I am not a Kit Kat, but I am a cat.
Nice,
as you can see here.
Nice. Yeah.
I like that they're purple and cat ears. A little homage to my alma mater, Northwestern University.
Oh,
Go
that's
Cats.
right. You're a kitty. I
Go
forgot.
Cats. So anyway,
Go
yes.
witches.
Happy Halloween to all you guys. Hopefully you are enjoying the night. You're going to hopefully go do something fun. Maybe you won't. I don't have any plans.
Be careful out there.
You got any Halloween plans, Spoon?
I may try to get home in time to hand out a little bit of candy or,
Okay.
If not, then I'll just turn the lights out and go to sleep.
Make all the
Work on my
kids
Sunday story.
skip your house.
Yeah.
So guys, we are live over on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. As always, in a bit, I will be pulling up your questions over on Facebook on my phone, so I'll take a look at those. But as always, we like to start out by talking about injuries, because that's usually what you guys want to know about. How's so-and-so doing? And most recently, that so-and-so has been Davante Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to know, when is Davante Adams going to come back? He's been out since week 4 against Philadelphia, where he sustained a turf toe injury. And very gradually, he has been making progress. Week after week, we have seen him do a little bit more in practice.
Mm-hmm.
And just yesterday, we saw him run what I would call 75%, three-quarter speed routes. Last week, it looked more like half-speed routes in practice and individual drills. Today, we got to see him run routes yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And I would dare to say that maybe he was going a little bit faster than 75% practice speed. But as always, I am not a wide receivers coach.
Yeah, I think he's starting to let it loose. It probably takes him a little time to warm up and get that thing going. I mean, without us being able to watch the 11-on-11s, we don't know how. We don't even know if he took part in the 11-on-11s because they don't let us watch it. But if he did, then he's running full speed. I mean, I don't think you have to run it full speed because otherwise it would ruin the timing of the routes. So I think he tested it. It sure seemed to me he wouldn't be in pads and he wouldn't be out there if he weren't going to test it to some degree. And I think the next 2 days, even if they hold him out of practice on Friday, it may be just to let it calm down. They'll see where it is Saturday. And if he's feeling okay, maybe they play him on Sunday.
So he was a limited participant in practice today. So wasn't a full participant, which is, I'm sure, what would be a good indicator of whether or not he'll be available on Sunday. But even so, if he is limited all week, do you think he would have a shot at playing on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's whether the medical decision has been made to let him play. And I don't think they would play him 60 snaps on Sunday. I think it's not a bad idea. I made reference to this in the podcast in case you want to hear more about this, which will be up very shortly. You could play him 20, 25 snaps, see how he does. If it goes well, you've begun the testing, for the following week, and then he has the bye. But if it doesn't go well, then you've got a full 2 weeks again to get him back doing rehab, because you go to Carolina, skip him out of that game, then you have the bye, and it's actually 3 weeks, because by the time he gets to San Francisco, then maybe he's ready again. So to me, it wouldn't be a bad idea if he's ready to try him out on Sunday.
So Davante was limited in practice today. There were a few changes from yesterday's practice to today. Aaron Rodgers was a limited participant in practice yesterday. He's had this knee injury issue for the last several weeks. But he was a full participant today, so that's good news. Blake Martinez was also upgraded to full participant, so was Will Redmond. Yesterday on the live stream, I was talking with Jim Ozarski about how in the past when they've had these walkthroughs on Wednesdays, on Thursdays sometimes we'll see guys get downgraded just because Wednesdays injury report, those are all estimations. Today, we didn't see that, which is good news for the Packers. I guess 52 guys, because they still have that one open roster spot, all 52 of them practiced today.
Yeah, unless we see some kind of change tomorrow or the day after. But they are as healthy a football team as I've ever been around, at least in the McCarthy era, at this point in the season. It's just unheard of for them to have all 53 guys available to some degree. And that's part of the reason why they're 7-1. I mean, teams that stay healthy compete for Super Bowls. In general, that is the rule.
All right, guys, let's take a look at Facebook. We'll take some of your questions. Tim says, meow, meow back to you, Tim. Levi has a question, something that's also been on my mind, and maybe you can shed some light on this, Tom. He wants to know, where is cornerback Josh Jackson? It appears, and it's true, that Chandon Sullivan is playing more than him. He has been. So what happened to Josh Jackson? He seems to have slipped under the cracks since he was injured during training camp, and he hasn't seen the field.
Yeah, I can only speculate on this. I mean, first of all, he got hurt in camp, and that put him behind all the other guys. Gave Chandon Sullivan, it gave Will Redmond a chance to perform, to show the coaches what they could do, and they were ready. I mean, they were guys who were hungry. They'd been in the league. This was their big chance, and they took advantage of it. Josh Jackson, I think, is caught between positions right now. He's playing some safety. He was a corner. I don't know if I assume he's practicing some at corner. I think he's the type of guy where maybe at this point in his career they need to put him at one position and let him just master that position. But he can't get on the field because these other guys are performing too well. And he's not, the little bit of action he got, I think it was against Oakland at the end of the Oakland game, wasn't good. He's not putting in good stuff when he plays defense. He's playing special teams. He's playing a lot of snaps on special teams, so he must be doing something good there. But he just can't, there's no room for him, and the only way you can make room is to get on the field, and when you do, make something big happen, and that's not been the case.
Right. I mean, especially with these guys, you look on the offensive side of the ball, the guys who have had opportunities in Devontae Adams' absence, those guys have, they're getting more reps and they're seeing more snaps and they're quality reps, and they're not on the field all the time. But you think of a Lazard and a Kumaro and guys like that who, when they do have the opportunity, have risen to the occasion. And with Josh Jackson, it just hasn't necessarily been the same.
No, it just hasn't happened for him yet.
Okay, Justin says he didn't realize that Trey Carson was gone until he showed up in Detroit last week. Does that speak well for Dexter Williams learning the offense? So Trey Carson was moved around between the practice squad and the 53-man roster quite a bit so far this season. When the Packers cut him, I wonder if they had aspirations of keeping him on or wanting to keep him on the practice squad. That being said, I remember that when they cut him, at the same time, they signed a running back to the practice squad. Right. So maybe they didn't expect to get him.
They knew he was going to sign, or he was going to get claimed on waivers or signed. They probably knew it was going to be Detroit because Detroit had been hurting at running back. Trey Carson was a nice player. He's an undrafted free agent, and he performed when they needed him against Dallas. But in the long run, you want Dexter Williams to play. This guy has some special abilities. You just haven't been able to tap into them yet. And, it's not doing him a lot of good to sit on the bench or not play at all. So he's at least getting a little bit of special teams work. It's just going to take time with him. And there's no opportunity and there's no reason to put him on the field when you've got, Jamal Williams. It's just one of these situations where no need to rush, no need to force it. Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are doing just fine, and Danny Vitale's playing pretty well too. So, I would say Dexter Williams is an emergency guy.
Yeah, I mean, talk about, again, a guy that didn't have a lot of opportunities in Carson, but when he did get the call and he was active in that game against the Cowboys, he had put some good film out there.
Yeah, he was solid, but he's about what he was this past weekend in Detroit, where he ran, I think, 12 times for 38 yards or something. That's what Trey Carson is. He's a really nice filler, but he's not your lead back. He's not Jamal Williams. He's not, he's definitely not Aaron Jones. But they got what they needed out of him, and now they need to get what they can out of Dexter Williams if that time comes.
Christian wonders if, I'm assuming the Packers are concerned. I don't think we're ever concerned about things, but are the Packers concerned about the defense going into the second half of the season? Jim Ozarski is working on a story on the defense needing to cut down explosive plays. So when you look at the game against Kansas City and you saw, I mean, some of their receivers had some very explosive plays. Travis Kelce, we saw a couple there too. When you look at what they were able to do against the Packers defense, is that just Kansas City and those are some really fast, strong receivers that they have? Or were there flaws that the defense had that they are going to need to address heading into the second half of the season?
Well, the Packers are not a finished product on defense. They're not a perfect product. They have some weaknesses. I think what they've done to this point is they've given up a lot of yards, but they've continually made the big play when they've needed it. Tyler Lancaster, knocking the ball out. Kevin King making the interception against Derek Carr. Every time there's a need for a big play where they have to turn the ball over or get a stop, 4th and 1, playing against Oakland before the half, they've just found a way to get it done and not give up that many points. They're not giving up that many points. They're giving up a ton of yards, but not that many points. Now, I will say, if that continues, all of a sudden the turnovers stop and the sacks stop a little or they level off, then you could be in trouble. I do think it is a concern to them, and it should be a concern, the big plays. But right now, they're getting away with it.
Right, and they're showing up in the red zone, which is arguably the most important part, is being able to stop them there.
They're a good red zone. I don't know what their percentage is. I haven't looked it up. But you just look at how they play week to week, and they don't give up 35 points. They haven't done that. Now, they also have to face some big-time quarterbacks, and Phillip Rivers is probably the best quarterback they will have faced this season.
We've got several of you guys asking about Rashawn Gary. Let's see, Dan, Jim, we've got Jeff. How is Rashawn Gary doing so far this year? We've seen Rashawn Gary get more and more defensive responsibility, more snaps as the season has progressed. A lot of times, Mike Pettin has put Rashawn Gary in with Kyler Fackrell. We've seen the two of them in there together a lot. And we've seen him on the field without Za'Darius or Preston Smith. So it's clear that the training wheels are starting to come off. Do you think that they are all the way off just yet?
I would say that, so Rashawn Gary, I think, is getting slightly more snaps than Kyler Fackrell. But Kyler Fackrell is a better third down pass rusher. Rashawn Gary right now is a power player. He's a guy who can play the edge. He can, set up Za'Darius Smith for stunts and Preston Smith for that kind of stuff. He doesn't have refined pass rush moves, and a lot of guys coming into the NFL don't, even if really good players. And that's going to take him a little time. He's in the perfect position. He's got Za'Darius Smith and Preston Smith and Fackrell. There's no pressure on him. He doesn't have to have a whole bunch of sacks. All he has to do is get better. And, I've seen some improvement, but I've also, I've been around for so long, and every time there's a guy who's a decent defensive lineman in college and he comes to the pros, it's just not the same. Very few guys can succeed because in college they get away with just being much better athletes than the guy across from them. Now all of a sudden they're facing a guy who's pretty darn good athlete and he's really good at his techniques and he knows how to block and now it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, so patience is the name of the game when it comes to evaluating Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, I think so. I think you'll want to see some things from him in December. That's where you'll have an idea if he's made some progress.
Dan wants to know, do you think the Packers need another receiver? Obviously, the trade deadline has passed, but as we all know, Josh Gordon's out there on waivers. Mm-hmm. Reportedly, he's officially been released from the Patriots off IR. Mm-hmm. Is that a guy the Packers should go after, or is there somebody else out there?
I'm not sure they'll get a chance because they're so far down on the waiver wire. I think because of their 7-1 record, I think they're 28th or 29th on the list.
Low odds there.
So, yeah, I mean, there's probably, I don't know what the Josh Gordon story is with I think it was his knee. He was hurt. We know that he has had substance abuse problems that have caused him to take leaves of absences. He keeps trying to come back, and you have to give him a lot of credit for that. He's an awesome athlete. I mean, incredible athlete. And he would jumpstart their kick return game. If anything, that's what I would look for with him. I would say if he's available, yeah, take the shot at him, put the claim in, but I'd be very surprised if they get it.
Mm-hmm. We have a question here from Janine. Is Ibrahim Campbell going to play hybrid linebacker / cornerback? So if background here, so Ibrahim Campbell was taken off PUP and he's still on.
Technically on PUP.
Still on PUP, but the Packers, when they had him, they brought him back to practice. So still on PUP, brought him back to practice now 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, they have a 3-week window, I
right.
believe it is, to practice him.
Yes.
And at the end of that 3 weeks, which would be,
I think
at the end of, is it the end of this week or is it next week?
I think it's this week.
Okay, then they have to make a decision to either activate him, put him on IR, or cut him.
Right.
I think they'll activate him. I think that's why they still have a roster spot. I think I wouldn't call him a hybrid safety corner. I call him a hybrid safety linebacker. And he's that guy who will play next to Blake Martinez.
Yeah, that's what Janine's called.
Yeah.
Yep,
that's exactly what he is. And I think they could get a lot out of him. I think he would help their run game. I think he's a better guy around the line of scrimmage than even Adrian Amos. He's bigger. Amos, I think you want back a little bit. Sometimes you want him around, but you want to be able to move Adrian Amos around. And Campbell, I think, would be a nice fit in the middle with Blake Martinez.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Levi also wants to know about Blake Martinez. Is Blake Martinez losing money, or could we let him walk? Can't see overpaying for him. Do you see Blake Martinez remaining in Green Bay after this year?
Yeah, I think they would pay him. I don't think inside linebackers are not breaking the bank. It's not like paying Zadarius Smith. You know, you're not going to pay him like a big-time pass rusher. And they'll figure out what his worth is. He's a good player. Right now, Oren Burks is not the answer. And you would think that he would be the guy who would step into that position if they lost him. But he's not done that. He's just, for whatever reason, they don't believe in him right now. Maybe down the line. I know they liked Curtis Bolton a lot until he tore his ACL, so you can't count on that either. I think it'll just come down to free agency. I don't think Blake Martinez has lost money. I just don't think he's going to be the highest paid inside linebacker, in the NFL. I think he's got a chance to make a little, some money. But he's a good, solid player. He's just not a superstar.
So the coordinator spoke today, and you asked Mike Pettin about Oren Burks. What does he have to prove to get back out onto the playing field, see a little bit more time? He's been worked in very gradually as he's recovered from the chest injury that he sustained in the preseason. So he gave you an answer that was pretty much just like, he doesn't have to prove anything. He's getting healthy. He's getting there. Do you buy that, or do you think there's something else that they're a little hesitant about? Is it just the the way that they're not playing so much in their base defense where they need two inside linebackers out there? What do you think?
Well, it is a little bit of everything. So one, B.J. Goodson is good in the run game. On first down, he's a nice guy to have in there. On second and third downs, they do like to play safeties. They like to play Amos or Redmond down there with Martinez. But let's face it, if Oren Burks was kicking butt, if he was in practice and he's making plays, they'd find a spot for him on the field. He's got too much ability, athletic ability. There's something there that's not, he's probably not playing fast enough. He's probably taking too long to diagnose stuff. That's my gut feeling. Pettin didn't really address that, and I'm not surprised. He's not going to take the guy down in front of all of us. But if he were ready to play, if he were a huge asset, they would find a place for him to play. Believe me, they would.
Mm-hmm. So going back to what we were just talking about regarding Ibrahim Campbell and that mysterious open 53 spot on the roster currently. So Justin wants to know what's up with Jace Sternberger. So like Campbell, he has been practicing as well. I believe the Packers have a little bit more time with him, that they can wait until they need to make a decision.
Yeah, I always forget what the weeks are. I think it might be 4 with IR, 5. This could be a case of them just using the opportunity to have him practice, and then they'll put him back on IR. I don't know that. I think it would be a good idea to get him some time, in regular season games. I don't know. 4 tight ends and all these wide receivers, and now they're getting the running backs in the passing game. I don't know how he would get on the field. Tanyan's going to be back, I would assume, this week. It would be tough, but it's hard to tell what they're thinking on some of these guys because, they don't really show their hand. And so I wish I could offer some insight as to that this is a lock, that he'll be on the 53. I do think there's a chance, but
I don't know. Like you, I don't know, obviously, but my gut tells me that Sternberger, he can practice, and I think that would be good for his development, and maybe that's what they value, but obviously he can't make much of an impact as a rookie tight end who hasn't practiced since training camp, and even in training camp, he wasn't healthy for most of it.
No, he wasn't. Now, he's a really talented guy, and they picked him in the 3rd round for a reason. He could be someone that you could stick out there at, like a slot position and let him run routes down the field, and maybe he could have a little bit of success. Maybe he could be Alan Lazard, but I don't think you can count on that. I think everything that they would be doing there is like protecting themselves in case there's an injury somewhere else, and also protecting themselves, like getting something out of this investment. Don't let them sit a whole year without having practiced or possibly played.
All right, Tom, we'll end this with a fun question from me. What was your favorite Halloween costume growing up?
Man. I'm embarrassed to say.
Oh, boy.
I'm not sure I should put this on. I don't think I will.
Ooh.
My sisters I had 2 older sisters, and they were cruel. So they dressed me up one year. So it was definitely not my favorite costume. I would say my favorite costume, I was kind of like a fireman. I always liked to be a fireman.
Huh.
I had an uncle I liked or cousin, and Abe the fireman, and so I always wanted to be a fireman.
Oh, well, maybe that sounds like maybe you could bring that back.
Career.
Yeah, I was going to say after one day.
I could never pass the physical test, believe me.
No, I'm sure it's very challenging.
What about you?
One of my favorite Halloween costumes that I've done semi-recently that I actually repeated a couple times, I think. So growing up when I was younger, I really liked the American Girl doll books. I didn't own a doll. I always wanted the doll, but my parents never obliged and got me a doll growing up. So I was not deprived growing up. I am very thankful for my parents and everything that they did for me, but they did not buy me an American Girl doll. But I did read the books. I took them out from the library, and I had one of my favorite American Girls was Samantha. So we have same like dark hair. So I was like, you know what, I'll do Samantha. So in college, I dressed up as Samantha, the American Girl doll, a couple times, which most people had no idea. And to be fair, it's a very nondescript, like she wore a lot of burgundy, so I wore a burgundy top and a skirt and she wore a little like bow in her hair, so I put a little bow in my hair. And nobody had any idea who I was, but I was Samantha, the American Girl doll.
Nice.
So that's one of my favorite Halloween costumes because it meant something to me, you know?
Good for you.
And that's what's most important, you guys.
Yes, Halloween's all about losing your inhibitions and wearing stuff like this.
Yes. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up the week of practice before we ship on off to LA. We're going to be in the 80-degree weather. I cannot wait.
Don't hate us.
Well, hopefully the fires and everything are okay this weekend. And I mean, my gut feeling is that they're not going to be if they haven't slowed down recently.
Yeah, you never know. The winds shift. It's not pretty. It's really
something to keep our eyes on. Yeah, it is a scary situation out there. So anyway, hopefully if any of you guys are out there or have family, friends out there, hopefully everyone is safe. But anyway, yes, we will be wrapping up practice tomorrow. Most likely we'll be on middle of the day because practice is quite early tomorrow. So I'd say around 1:30, 2 o'clock, you can expect to come and join us over on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube once again. So also make sure you're checking out PackersNews.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels and have a wonderful Halloween. Don't eat too much candy.